I think the thing I found the most fascinating in your book was this idea of the illusion of pain, and that you can that pain felt outside the brain is an illusion, so that you if it's of course when you're missing an arm, then the brain refers to the pain that's supposedly in the arm, but actually the only thing that feels the pain is the brain itself.
Yeah.
And then it sends it out to the arm, and you realize, wait a second, then we're just kind of these are here to get us through the world, to navigate and so on, but we're not feeling it out here. So the questions you raise about consciousness and the body are really, they made me think of an image that is in these dancers, Sankai Juko. I don't know if you've ever seen them. They're sometimes at BAM. They're Japanese choreographers, and they have the same make you think of what the brain-body relationship in a similar way. And one of the sets that they had was an incredible one, which was a rabbit on top of a very, very tall pole. I don't know if you ever saw this. And the rabbit is sitting up there during the whole show, and the dancers are dancing with their all white face in it, and it's very frightening. And it just reminds me of this image of the brain, this kind of crazy little rabbit on top of this precarious pole. You don't know what it's going to do. Now, one time the rabbit fell. So what they did was they got a little safety harness. Oh. They didn't change their set, no, or they didn't make the pole shorter. They got a safety net for the rabbit. Now, the first time they used it, the rabbit fell again, but it spent the whole show in the safety net around the pole. Whoa! And it was so distracting, But
you stole the show.
It did, and this thing that you wrote of
the phantom limbs, or.
Well, it was a couple of times that you really addressed this in ways that were really. This projection, and this is about phantom pain, is perhaps the most astonishing illusion of all. While our body is, of course, real, the fact that we feel it as residing outside the confines of our cranium is an illusion. Yeah. And that's really
and I think
amazing to think about.
To help people understand that, it's really it's counterintuitive, right? Because there's nothing more intimate than our own body. There's absolutely nothing intimate than our own body. And the notion that, in a sense, it's an illusion is extremely counterintuitive. But phantom limbs really bring that home. So the phantom limbs, when somebody feels their arm that's no longer there, that's no less real than you or I feeling that limb. So I think of it as the ventriloquist gone awry, where the ventriloquist, which is the brain here, projecting your feeling onto your hand or to the pinprick on your hand, like the ventriloquist holding the dummy and projecting his voice. But it's as if he forgot the dummy and continued projecting his voice to a non-existent dummy. Then he just looks silly. So this is what happens when the brain insists on projecting that illusion and maintaining that illusion even though the arm's no longer there. So the brain's caught in this lie, sort of like the bunny getting hanging there. It's just, okay, well, now all the tension has shifted there. So the brain gets caught in its own trickery in phantom limbs. And it's a very debilitating, but also very revealing to what consciousness or our sense of body awareness is.
And similar to the what is it called when you no longer feel ownership of your arm?
Yeah. So that's sometimes referred to as somatoparaphrenia, and this is sort of the opposite illusion or mirror syndrome of phantom pains, in which some people deny the existence of their own arm, presumably because the maps responsible for that illusion, for projecting consciousness onto that body part, have been lesioned somehow. And these are stories where the patient will have their hand on the table, and the doctor will have the hand on the table, and the patient will say, look at their own hand and say, "Doctor, you have my ring," because they don't accept that that's their own hand, because it's not represented. The illusion has been totally erased
but
for some
you
reason.
can get flashes of that sometimes. If your arm is over here and you're like,
Yes.
or it's next to somebody else's, and you suddenly aren't sure whose is whose, and it's very disorienting. But I don't think it's foreign to us.
That's fascinating. I think you do get flashes of that. Yeah. I had that flash the other day in bed where I was sleeping on my leg or something, and it totally fell asleep, and I lost contact with it, and I kept on bumping into it, and I said, whose leg is that? And then, and you do get flashes of that. It's true. It's true.
We've got a question in the first row and also in the second row. Let's take the first row first.
So this question is for Laurie. If you could augment your brain, and if you could pick like one perfect bug that maybe hasn't been documented in that book yet, what would you do?
If I could augment my brain?
Yeah, if you could have like a magic wand with like what extra, would you want an extra sense, or would you want like a certain?
I would, if I could augment my brain, could I choose my eyes instead of the brain? Because it's all just referring back to the brain. So I would like to have interchangeable lenses so that I could look like right to the surface of Mars and really see with just a little switch, and then to be able to see through things, and our eyesight's terrible. It's just